What is up, math superstars? In this edition of Mr. Peterson Presents, I'm bringing to you an introduction about algebra. So here we go. So we're going to talk about some different terms. We're going to take a look at what it looks like in expressions, equations, and inequalities. And so here are some different terms. First term is called a variable. This is a symbol. Your fill in the blank is a symbol. A symbol that represents a number we do not know yet. And so typically in algebra, the things that you'll see, they're represented by letters. And so you might see X or Y or the letter A or B. So any kind of letter, any kind of symbol will tell you in a math sentence or math expression that this is a number that we do not know yet. So we call this a variable. So let's talk about the coefficient. This is the number before the variable. So it can be a fraction. It can be a whole number, it can be positive or negative, but every variable has a coefficient. So all that is the number before the variable is the key thing. So we'll talk about how to identify the coefficient here in a second. So we have a constant. So the constant, this is a number with no variable attached. So it's just in our math sentences or expressions, you will just see a number that's just called a constant. It means that that number doesn't change. It's consistently that number. So now we talk about what an expression is. An expression is a group of terms. And so these are numbers, coefficients, variables, and it does not contain an equal sign is the key part in that to identify an expression. So here we have this expression here. So we have 3x plus 1. And so we can identify 3. This is our coefficient. This is the number that is before the variable. So we have x. That is our symbol representing an unknown value. So we call that's our variable. And our number 1 here, this is our constant, because that number will not change. And here it's asking a question, how many terms do we have? So when we talk about the word terms, this is how many different parts are there to the expression or equation. And so here we have 3x, since this is multiplication, this is going to be together. So this is one term, and our constant, anything after our operation sign. So our number here, 1, is a second term. So we can say that this expression has 2 terms. So now let's take a look at this example. We have 2k plus 15 minus m minus 3 plus n minus 7p. So our first step is we're going to identify all of the terms here. So this is fine. Let's say we have 2k is our first term, 15 is our second term, we have m, we have negative 3, we have n, and negative 7p. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 terms. Let's go ahead and list out all the variables we can find. We have k, we have m, we have n, and we have p. So we list out our variables here. We have k, we have m, we have n, and we have p. So now let's go ahead and list out our coefficients. These are the numbers that we're going to multiply the variable by. They're before the variable. So we have here we have k, the variable, the coefficient is 2. We have m. We know that any number multiplied by 1 gives us that number. So we have m. Our number is 1 here. Coefficient is 1, but since we have a subtraction sign, it's going to be negative 1. We have n is going to be our third variable. Our coefficient is going to be 1, and since it's addition sign, it's going to be positive 1. And our last but not least, we have a coefficient of 7 with p, but since that's subtraction, it's going to be negative 7. And our constants. These are just straight up the numbers here with no variables by themselves. So we have 15, we have negative 3, and let's just write those in. We have 15 and negative 3. Let's go and try another one here. So let's go ahead and figure out what all of our terms are. So our terms here, we have -8's a term, we have 4c, 7, we have c, we got that, and that's nice. So here we go with our terms here. So we have -8's. So we have 4c, but since it's subtraction, let's put -4c. We have 7, we have -c, we have -12c, and we have -2. Let's go ahead and list out our variables here. So here's our variables. We have c, we have c, c, we have 3 c's. So let's just write c for one of those. Let's go and find out our variables. So let's go ahead and go back to, I'm sorry, our coefficients. So let's go back to all of our variables. So we have 4 here. And so since we have a subtraction sign, we say we have a coefficient of -4. We have our second c right here. The coefficient is 1, but we have subtraction, so it's going to be -1. And our last but not least, our last c right here has a coefficient of 12, and so that's going to give us, but since it's subtraction, it's going to be -12. And let's find out our constants. Last but not least, we have -8, we have have +7, and -2. So let's go and list those out there. We have -8, +7, and -2. So now here we're in the second part. Let's talk about what an equation is. An equation is a math sentence that states that two quantities are equal, and you guessed it, every equation will have an equal sign. So now let's talk about this equation. We have 3x plus 1 is equal to 7. Here, so this equation says that what's on the left here, 3x plus 1, is your fill-in, is equal to, so we have an equal sign, what is on the right, which is +7. We can also say that this equation has 3 terms. It has 2 different expressions to it. So what that's saying is that everything to the left is an expression, and everything to the right is an expression. So we have 2 expressions here. We only have one variable, so our variable is x. Here we have a coefficient of, let's pick a different color here. We have our coefficient is 3. And our constants, we have 2 constants here. Our constants are 1 and 7. So now an inequality. This is a math sentence that contains one of these symbols. We have the greater than symbol, the less than symbol, and then we have greater than or equal to, and then we have less than or equal to. So here we're given this math sentence of inequality. We have 4 plus x is going to be greater than 25. So with this inequality says that what's on the left, our fill-in is 4 plus x, is greater than what's on the left is greater than what's on the right. So on the right is 25.